Jim Tolstrup is a director of Shambhala training and a student of Trungpa Rinpoche, the founder of the Shambhala Buddhist community since 1987. Shambhala communities around the world cultivate kindness, bravery, and genuine dialogue in order to inspire compassionate, sustainable, and just human societies. Jim and others?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay, or is this good? I'm going to stay very close to my notes for the sake of time, and because we're Buddhist, we intensely debated the validity of every word on this paper. So, chanting in various Buddhist traditions is a way of relaxing or calming the mind and harmonizing the group before meditation. And frequently it's used to invoke the teachers, lineage figures, and the blessings of protectors, as well as supplicate for the longevity and accomplishments of aspirations of enlightened teachers. Chants known as sutras are essentially condensed dissertations of Buddhist doctrine. The Heart Sutra, also known as the Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge, is from the Mahayana tradition, which focuses on rousing compassion and helping others through awakening to our true nature. The Heart Sutra is recited by various Buddhist communities around the world, and it has been translated from the original Sanskrit into Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, English, and many other languages. The chant begins with the phrase, "Thus have I heard," highlighting the fact that this wisdom has been transmitted by a living teacher directly to students since the days of the Buddha. The chant provides an historic account of a gathering of monks and nuns, bodhisattvas, on Vulture Peak Mountain at Rajagriha in central India. The Buddha in this story is in a state of profound meditation, and two of his students discuss the ultimate nature of reality. The Buddha's active role in this scenario is simply to comment, "Thus it is," at the end of the discussion. Many Buddhist teachings are included in the chant, such as the Four Noble Truths, which provide an outline for the liberation from suffering, skandhas, the process by which we fixate on self and other, and ayatanas, or sense perceptions. Each of these concepts are preceded by the word "no," as a means to point out the ultimate nature of reality that is beyond description and dismantle the grasping tendencies of the mind. In other words, it's not suffering, the origin of suffering, or liberation from suffering. It's not birth, old age, sickness, or death. It's not sound, smell, touch, taste, etc. Reciting the chant is said to calm all suffering. It eliminates concepts one by one, pointing to pure awareness that is beyond description. It says that we can be brave enough to eliminate any attempt to draw a circle around reality, even a very big one, and say, "This is it." It points directly at primordial mind, or Buddha nature. that already exists within us. The culmination of the discussion is a recitation of the Prajnaparamita mantra. Prajnaparamita, also known as the mother of Buddhas, combines the Sanskrit words prajna, or wisdom, with paramita, perfection. The words mean gone, gone, gone beyond, altogether beyond, awakened, so be it. Did people get a copy of the chant on the table up front? I'd like to say a few things about the chant in general. That paper with the words on it is considered sacred in the sense that it's actually a tangible wisdom. So you can keep the paper, or if you don't want to keep it, we'll collect it at the end. But we ask people to treat it with respect and put it in a place of reverence. And then also, the way that we chant is very much in a monotone. There's very little inflection on the words, and there's no punctuation. We just, there's no stop at the end of the sentences. We just chant straight through, sort of like a river that is continually flowing. And the chant leader says we'll say the Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge, and then the first 4 syllables, which are actually the first 4 words, thus have I heard, and then everyone can join in. And now for the Buddhist lexicon, because there are many Sanskrit words included in this. Sangha is the community of Buddhist practitioners. Bodhisattvas are practitioners committed to Mahayana teachings who vow to attain enlightenment in order to work for the benefit of sentient beings. Samadhi means the meditative state. And I mentioned that this is a debate between 2 of the Buddha's advanced students. One of them is called Avalokiteshvara, and he actually represents compassion. He is the bodhisattva of compassion, and through his own great power of meditation, the Buddha causes the profound realization of the nature of reality in Avalokiteshvara, who then becomes his spokesman for presenting the teachings on shunyata, or emptiness. A Mahasattva is a bodhisattva who has attained the 7th bhumi, or essentially a completely enlightened being. Shariputra is the other main character in this chant. Shariputra is an arhat, who is a person of great knowledge, who is of a noble family, and one of the Buddha's principal disciples. He often figures in sutras as a person who asks questions and provokes the teachings. Dharmas, in this context, dharma refers to phenomena rather than, often Buddhist teachings are called the dharma. Dharma essentially means truth. And mantra. Mantra is a word in the popular lexicon, but in the Sanskrit tradition it means mind protection. According to the Tibetan tradition, Sanskrit words or syllables that express the quintessence of various energies, whether or not they have conceptual contents as words. In Vajrayana, mantra is explained as that which protects the Vajra mind, the indestructibly awake nature of mind. In the end, it says Tathagatas, and Tathagatas literally means one thus gone, an epithet of Buddhas, or fully awakened ones, who have gone to the other shore in this very way. those who have journeyed on the same path as all enlightened ones and reached the goal, freedom from the two obscurations of conflicting emotions and mistaken views about reality. Then it mentions gods, Gandharvas, Asuras, etc. And that's a reference to beings of the 6 realms. So in the end it says the Tathagatas, gods, Gandharvas, Asuras, rejoiced. And so it means beings in all 6 realms rejoiced upon hearing these words. What's that? Yes, so I will read the title, Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge, and say the first 4 words, thus have I heard. And then when it gets to once the Blessed One, people are welcome to join in, and we'll go at a reasonably slow pace. The Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge. Thus have I heard once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajagriha, Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a great gathering of the Sangha of monks and a great gathering, the Sangha of Bodhisattvas. At that time the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, expresses the Dharma called profound illumination, and at the same time Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, while practicing the profound prajna paramita, saw in this way, he saw the 5 skandhas be empty of nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra, to noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should a son or daughter of noble family train who wishes to practice the profound prajna paramita, addressed in this way, noble Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva Mahasattva, said to Venerable Shariputra, O Shariputra, son or daughter of noble family who wishes to practice the profound prajna paramita, should see in this way, seeing the 5 skandhas be empty of nature. Form is emptiness, emptiness also is form. Emptiness is no other than form, is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are emptiness. Shariputra, all dharmas are emptiness. Their characteristics, there is no birth and no cessation. There is no impurity and no purity. There is no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eye, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no eye, dhatu, up to, no mind, dhatu, no dhatu of dharmas, no mind, consciousness, dhatu, ignorance, no end of ignorance, up to no old age and death, no end of old age and death, no suffering, no origin of suffering, no cessation of suffering, path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since the Bodhisattvas no attainment, they abide by means of prajna paramita. Since there is no obscuration of mind, there is no fear, they transcend falsity and attain complete nirvana. The Buddhas of the 3 times by means of prajna paramita fully awaken to unsurpassable true complete enlightenment. Therefore, the great monarch mantra of prajna paramita, the mantra of great insight, unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering, be known as truth since there is no deception. Paramita mantra is said in this way: Om Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhisvaha Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, trained in the profound prajna paramita. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, thus it is, O son of noble family, thus it is. Practice the profound prajna paramita just as you have taught, and all the Tathagatas will rejoice when the Blessed One had said this. Venerable Shariputra, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, that whole assembly world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. By the confidence of the golden sun of the great east, may the lotus garden of the Rigton's wisdom bloom. May the dark ignorance of sentient beings be dispelled. May all beings enjoy profound, brilliant glory. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim and others. Finally, we turn to Joel Bacon and his singers. Joel holds the Stuart and Sharon Golden Chair of Organ and Liturgical Studies in the School of Music, Theater, and Dance at Colorado State University. And there, he teaches, among other things, Gregorian chant as part of courses on liturgical music and medieval music history. He directs the Schola of St. John the 23rd Catholic Church here in Fort Collins, a choir specializing in Gregorian chant and sacred polyphony. I practiced that word. Joel.
Thank you. It's very much a privilege to be here with you tonight. When I was approached about bringing a group to sing chant, I wondered what exactly it was that we wanted to sing for you or sing with you. There are so many things in the Christian tradition we might call chant. My choir at St. John the 23rd sings a repertoire we typically call Gregorian chant. That's unaccompanied Latin chant that comes from the Middle Ages. And some of the things that we might typically sing on a Sunday evening are 1,200 years old. And some things are quite new, and they're in English, and they're in parts, and things like that too. But I thought that it might be nice to give you an experience of one maybe liturgical event. And so I picked the office of Compline, as we call it, night prayer. So there's an ancient tradition of praying several times a day. Morning prayer, evening prayer. We have fancy names for them: lauds, vespers, Compline. And we'll be singing Compline tonight. A version of this is actually quite quite common in other Christian traditions too. I picked up a Lutheran hymnal in the pews here, and there's a version in it. Often Anglican traditions, Episcopalians will combine this with evening prayer, and they'll call it evensong. You may have heard of that or participated in that. At our church, we don't typically sing Compline together, so this is also fun for our choir because it's something we don't get to do. This prayer is something that is done all over the world at night by Catholics. It is an obligation of any ordained Catholic person to say the Liturgy of the Hours and to pray that individually if it's not possible to do that in a group. So tonight, all over the world, Catholics will be praying the same words that you'll be reading along with tonight. This is kind of the most solemn way to do it, I have to admit, in Latin, unaccompanied in a choir. So there's that. If you have your sheets that I gave you, I'd like to maybe just talk through a little bit about what you'll hear. It takes about 12 minutes to sing through straight. It takes me typically about 3 minutes to pray it on my own before I go to bed, and I find that I sleep much better when I do. So this is quite risky at the end of an evening to have a bedtime prayer. But I see very alert faces, so thank you. It begins with a call to prayer, actually, and I'm so interested in the other traditions that have hastened to pray, because all of the Liturgy of the Hours begins with God, hasten to help me, ad adiuvandum me festina, you'll hear. You'll also see different kinds of, I gave you music not to sing along with, but so that you can see even just visually the different kinds of music we'll be singing, different kinds of chant. This is all recto tono, on one pitch, just a very, very solemn invitation to prayer. We search our consciences before we go to bed and ask for forgiveness for all the things we've done at faculty meeting today. On the next page, we have a hymn, and this hymn is a very ancient one. To you before the close of day, creator of all things we pray. And I picked the melody for feasts because it's the feast day of St. Andrew today. My middle name is Andrew, so you can all wish me well after this program. Back in the 4th century, Christians got very excited about the Psalms. And they formed communities that read through the Psalms every day, all 150 in order. And that's still the tradition of most monastic Christian groups. All of the Liturgy of the Hours includes a psalm, and they're picked topically here. So night prayer has themes of trusting in God's protection and care. And so Psalm 16, 15 in the Vulgate, Psalm 16 talks about that. It includes the verse, I bless the Lord who gives me counsel, who even at night directs my heart. So a night-themed psalm. A reading from the New Testament. The short responsory, into your hands, Lord, I commend my spirit. And then we have on the next page a gospel canticle. This is an interesting part of the Christian tradition. Morning prayer, evening prayer, night prayer all have songs taken from the book of Luke. And the Song of Mary, the Magnificat, is at evening prayer. And here, very cleverly, the Song of Simeon is taken, the Nunc Dimittis. Lord, now you let your servant go in peace. Your word has been fulfilled. This idea of going to bed, going in peace. I will give the closing prayer, which is not so inappropriate. I'm not any holier than thou, but in the Catholic tradition, lay people can also lead the Liturgy of the Hours. The blessing you might find a little unusual on page 5. May the all-powerful Lord grant us a restful night and a peaceful death is an interesting way to go to bed. But if any of you grew up with "Now I lay me down to sleep," and if I should die before I wake, it's that idea of the kind of trust that we place in God as we go to bed is the same that we would place before our final end as well. I chose the most solemn of all of the antiphons to the Blessed Virgin Mary at the end, and I've asked our women to sing this song to Mary. This was one of the great hits of the Middle Ages. If you weren't around back then, this was how they did it. So, thank you again, and I'd like to invite my choir forward at this time.
Deus, in adiutorium meum intende, Gloria Patri et Filio, et Spiritui Sancto, sicut erat in principio, et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Alleluia. Miserere nostri Domine, qui peccatoribus tibi, ostende nobis Domine misericordiam tua, et salutare tuum da nobis. et exultaverunt precordiam
Oh
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, singers. So in the interest of time, remember I suggested that those of you who wanted to ask questions could come up after the program is over and talk to the presenters. They agreed to stay afterwards and answer your questions. But several of the presenters said they would like to entertain a few questions from the group as a whole. And so, again, in the interest of time, let's entertain 2 questions from anyone who has a question to address to any one of the speakers or presenters. So if you could stand, please, and speak loudly, that would be lovely. So questions or comments from anyone?
I'd like to know why Simon felt his face.
The question was, why did Saeed hold his face like this?
We have a mic, unless he goes up there.
This one is.
Yeah. So the gentleman who came to me, his name is Saeed Khatani. He's actually from Saudi Arabia. He's a postgraduate student at CSU. And as he gave the call to prayer, he covered had his fingers in his ear. One practical part could be that, as if you're kind of listening to yourself, you can hear your own voice tonate through your body, basically, as you're reciting. And there's also a more, I guess you can say, doctrinal reason for it also. We believe the first call to prayer was instructed, or the call to prayer was instructed by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to Bilal. And Bilal was a companion of the Prophet Muhammad. And he was one of the 2 mu'adhdhins, or person who made the call to prayer. And another one was a blind man, and I forget his name. But so these 2 made the call to prayer. And if they had a habit of what they would do during the call to prayer, then it became a tradition for everyone after them to do similar to what they did when they made the call to prayer. And you may be able to find some text would mention that they had this also kind of putting their kind of 4 fingers in 8 ears as they made the call to prayer. But at least from, I guess, a practical point of view, you can say simply it's to hear your voice resonate. And also, it could be said that perhaps it was from their example, so too anyone who makes a call to prayer would do it in the same way. And it's not required to make the call to prayer, the long call to prayer before every prayer, but at least there's a sort of more brief one. It can be recited within 10-15 seconds, and it can be recited quietly, and that's what's said before every one of the 5 prayers in Islam.
Any other thoughts or questions? So on behalf of the World Wisdoms Project, I want to thank our presenters very much. Will you join me in applause for them?
I guess I have this. Can I take the second question?
Is there a second question, or do you want to?
I want to ask, yeah. I guess there's a fear that some people are making all the faiths be the same. And there are some people who perhaps are wishing to say that we're all doing the same exact thing. But I think everyone here tonight saw that everything was different, but there was a distinct resonating tone between all the presenters here today. It talked about hastening to prayer. It talked about presenting yourself to the divine, asking for a closeness and opening of your heart to that which has been revealed and you're inspired to do. And I think to me did everyone see that? That's my question. Did everyone see the same thing? And I'm happy to hear that from you all and from the presenters here. And we're all different, but there's a thread going through each one that I think we could share and appreciate and learn from. So that was my question to you all. Thank you.
So once again, thank you very much, and I want to turn the program over to Denise Mayer with some announcements and kind of final thoughts. Denise, are you here? Oh, you are.
I would like to say thank you again to Shakir and Joel and your choir, and Jim and your group, and Nadia and your son. So thank you for sharing your wonderful chant with us. It was amazing. I'd also like to thank Deanna on sound over there, and Trinity Lutheran. They always open up and share this beautiful sacred space with us. So thank you very much. And Mark for filming. Our next event is going to be January 25th at First United Methodist, and it will be our own Jim Reed, who's on our board of directors. His presentation will be called Metaphors, Sources of Limitations or Tools of Liberation, and those flyers are on the back table. We are also offering our first immersive experience this year. It is a contemplative art workshop. It's going to be Saturday, February 10th. There are flyers on the back table. You can register online or by mail, and it's limited to only 30 participants, so sign up soon if you'd like to do that. Payment must be made at time of registration so that we can secure those 30 spots. We just, hot off the press today, got our annual brochure. They are on the back table. Those of you who are on our mailing list will be receiving one in the mail this week, so feel free to take one of those. Our new website is up and running, so check us out if you want on worldwisdomsproject.org. We also have a Facebook page, thanks to Meg, also called World Wisdoms Project, so you can like us there. And lastly, we are handing out evaluations at the end. There will be people at the doors. And as an incentive to get some feedback, because it really helps us, we have a prize. And so we'll take all the evaluations that are in the basket and pick one. And the winner will get this book that also has 2 CDs in it. And it is chants from 3 traditions, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian. So thank you all for coming and for sharing in our lovely evening, and have a great rest of your night.